Hi everybody, day 18 of the 30-day mindful challenge. Open up your workbooks. I'm going to be walking you through a series of questions. If you don't have the workbook, you can just answer the questions, hit pause in between them, take as much time as you need to, but I'm just going to read through them so that you have them if you need them. So we'll get started. I would just encourage you in this process to be honest with yourself. Be careful in your responses, meaning be thoughtful in your responses. Think about what really is going to work for you and try not to too much take other people into consideration. I know it's important. We have to think about our children. We have to think about our spouses and things like that, and work and responsibilities. But first and foremost, we need to start here and think about where we land in all of this. And sometimes when we set a boundary, someone gets upset. That is okay. I'm giving you permission to set a boundary that feels right for you. And if someone gets upset, it may be because they're used to you saying yes all the time, or they don't want to do the thing that you said no to, or they're just expecting things of you. So it doesn't mean that's your responsibility to do it. And you need to know that and give yourself permission to opt out. So identify your boundaries. Step number 1, what are your non-negotiable values, beliefs, or principles that you want to uphold in your personal life? Again, hit pause when you need to. What are the limits you want to set for yourself in terms of time, energy, work, money, relationships, social media, your physical body, your emotions, your freedom of thought, technology, your children, parenting, and resources? And what are the areas of your life where you feel you need to establish stronger boundaries, such as with family, friends, work, online, whatever it may be? In the next section, reflecting on your current boundaries, how well do you currently enforce your personal boundaries? Do you have them and you don't set them? You don't enforce them? Are there any areas where you feel your boundaries are being crossed or compromised? How do you typically respond when your personal boundaries are not respected? And then the next section, consider the consequences of not setting your personal boundaries. How has not setting or enforcing your boundaries affected your physical, emotional, or mental well-being? Be honest with yourself here. What are the potential negative consequences of not setting boundaries in your personal life, such as increased stress, resentment, or burnout? And how have your relationships been impacted when personal boundaries are not respected? The next session, develop strategies for setting and maintaining personal boundaries. What specific actions can you take to establish and maintain your personal boundaries? How can you effectively communicate your boundaries in a clear and assertive manner? What self-care practices can you implement to support your boundaries and maintain your well-being? It's okay, like I said, to say no. That is a complete sentence, but it can also be something like, I don't have the bandwidth right now to take on that project, or I'd love to help you, but it really isn't in the realm of what I can take on at this point, or I'm really feeling depleted at this state right now, and it's not something that I'm willing to commit to. Maybe down the road, I'll be able to. Things like that, that just kind of are kind, but direct. And then plan for boundary maintenance. How will you proactively monitor and reinforce your boundaries? And then what challenges or obstacles do you anticipate in maintaining the boundaries, and how will you address them? And then what support systems or resources can you utilize to help you stay accountable and consistent in reinforcing your personal boundaries? And then reflect on your answers and consider how you can implement these strategies into your life on a day-to-day basis. And remember that personal boundaries are important, they're needed, they're necessary for your own well-being. Like and follow for more. Day 19 is tomorrow. Day 19 is forgiveness. It's a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, back again with day 18 of the 30-day mindful challenge. I'm so glad for those of you that are still here. Today we're talking about boundaries. Boundaries are critical to our well-being. They are the guidelines that we set for our life. They're the limitations that we set in our life. It's what we deem acceptable and unacceptable in our life, what we'll tolerate, what we will not tolerate. And they help us kind of develop a sense of safety, like a safety protocol for our world, if you will. And it allows us to be better with our own self-care because we are setting limits for what is okay and not okay in our life. And it also gives us a time frame for kind of how we're walking through our own life and deciding what it is that we want to establish in terms of respect and safety, all of that. So when we talk about boundaries, we're not just talking about relationship boundaries, right? What I will accept in this relationship, but we're also talking about communication boundaries, being able to express yourself, your opinions, your thoughts, being valid. It is setting time boundaries, giving of your time, donating your time, volunteering your time, how much you work, how much overtime you work or don't work, time with friends, time with significant others, time with children, all of that, figuring out what works best for you in your life. It's also physical safety, right? What is, how you're kind of setting your life up or setting your days up in terms of where you go, how you get there, and being mindful of those types of boundaries. It is work boundaries and also friend boundaries. It's social media boundaries and technology boundaries. So you can see that there are multiple areas that boundaries impact our lives that we need to pay attention to. When we do not set boundaries, there are consequences. That is when we tend to feel overwhelmed. We feel taken advantage of. We feel burnt out. We feel less than. And it takes us away from our own productivity for the things that mean something to us. It also creates an imbalance in our life in terms of what we want to create versus what other people expect from us, and us saying yes all the time. When we have that imbalance, there can be a lot of resentment when we don't learn to say no. No is the most powerful word in our language, and it is a complete sentence. You don't need to explain when you are setting a boundary and you say no to something. It is your prerogative. It is your right. So remember that. No is a complete sentence. When we set boundaries, we are increasing ourselves as a priority, increase our likelihood that we're going to achieve things because we're saying no to other requirements or self-imposed or other imposed requirements. We empower ourselves and we increase our respect. Our overall well-being tends to increase. And I will say that in studies that have been done in terms of the world's leading leaders in mindfulness and happiness and well-being, they're probably the most boundaried people in the world. And that increases their well-being. So I want to encourage you to work on your boundary setting. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through some exercises. So I will see you in a few minutes. Take care.